This is the Suzuki GSX-8S. It's their middleweight naked sports bike, like the SV650, which is their middleweight naked sports bike. So I have two. Well, the SV650 is a 650cc V-twin, whereas this is one of the new breed of parallel twin middleweight motors. I am a massive fan of the SV. I make no secrets of that. You can check out our videos on it. We'll put some links up here somewhere. But the SV is a bike that's full of character, and despite kind of lukewarm performance on paper, always puts a smile on my face. And this 8S is kind of in the same boat. If you compare it to some of the other parallel twin bikes in this class, it's not the most powerful and it's definitely not the lightest. But the riding experience on so many bikes is often much, much more than the spec sheet says. So to find out if that's the case with this one, I'm kicking the Bike World crew out in my garden, and I'm going to go and spend a good few days riding this, trying to fall in love with it and seeing what makes it tick. This is my vlog, unguided, off-the-rails review of the Suzuki GSX-8S.
Today's toy is the pretty awesome looking Suzuki GSX-8S. Definitely one of those bikes that doesn't make sense on paper. You've got to ride the thing. It is not the most powerful in class, it is not the lightest in class, but as always that never tells the full story. It tells the story of probably how it's going to do in a outright performance shootout, but if you're buying something for the most performance, why are you buying a middleweight roadster? Because superbikes exist. It's more about how they ride and how they feel, and I'm not denying that this bike would be even better if it was 20 kilos lighter, but don't write it off on the numbers, because it is a lovely engine and a really nice bike to ride, just a great road bike to get on and go for a blast. Suzuki has announced the GSX-8R, if you hadn't seen that already. Where were you hiding? Which is going to be the Supersport version of this. If you're into racing and follow the Superbike Championships, you'll know this already, but there's a sort of surge to fill the gap left by Supersport 600s. You know, the 600cc Supersport class was an awesome thing for a long time, but it's kind of gone. You know, lots of manufacturers are stopping making the bikes, and so in the place of that middleweight class, we've had these naked parallel twin roadsters, and a few manufacturers have now started making sports ones as well. Yamaha's R7 being a notable one, and I think that's where things are going to start heading. And the news at British Superbikes is that there's a class coming for parallel twins. The rules are still going around in circles, but they'll be balancing the power between them to try and make it fair for everyone, so you don't have to have only one bike being competitive. You can balance the speed of the bikes, and it's a great idea. It's great to have a sports bike in that middleweight class. Supersport 600s were once quite a cheap sports bike, and then as technology got crazier and crazier and crazier and the class got more and more competitive, you found that 600s had the same technology on them as the 1000s, at which point, why would you buy the 600? Because they're getting towards costing the same. Now manufacturers have dropped the 600s, there's room for budget middleweight sports bikes again, which is a great thing. They are so much fun to ride on the road. Yamaha's R7 showed us that, and I'm super excited to get out on the GSX-8R and see what that's like, because no, it's not a GSX-R 750, it's never going to be that, but Suzuki know how to build a brilliant sports road bike. For years the GSX-R was one of my favourite bikes to ride on the road, and it wasn't because of the numbers on paper, and it wasn't because of the tech it had, it was just because of how it felt and how it was to jump on and blast down a good road on a sunny day. And if they can get even a percentage of that into the new 8RR, using this engine as a base, it is going to be a blinding bit of kit. I can't wait to ride it. I'm struggling to fathom why the GSX-8S weighs 10-15 kilos more than its competitors. I mean, I know why it will be, because Suzuki didn't make that a priority in the design process. You know, they're perfectly capable of making a light bike, they just didn't have it on the top of their list. And I find that frustrating, because actually once you ride him, once you roll him, that weight disappears, and you don't really notice it. You know, when you start ragging it and throwing it around, then the weight's there, but it doesn't ride like a heavy bike particularly. But at low speed and lifting it up off the side stand and pushing it in and out your garage, it does. And that's 15 kilos you could do without, especially when you consider, you know, this bike is supposed to be an every rider bike. It's supposed to be for experienced novices, it's supposed to be for super confident people, and also for people who are a bit more nervous. And typically the people who are going to buy them are the people that are maybe either earlier on in their riding career or downsizing towards the end of their riding career, and to make it heavier is a bit annoying to say the least. I'd rather it was 10-15 kilos lighter. That would be a better thing. It has been hosing down with rain for 2 weeks straight. Little Suzuki's been languishing in the garage waiting for me to get out for a spin. I have been out on it a couple of times, but wobbling around through puddles doesn't make much watching. And it's hard to tell the whole story about a bike. You can learn a little bit in those conditions. You can learn how much confidence it gives you. You can learn how easy it is to ride and how easy it is to live with. You know, a bike that's fast and twitchy and snappy and aggressive is never going to be much fun when those conditions are disgusting. And with Suzuki, it's definitely easy to ride, and also makes good progress without you having to rev the living daylights out of it. It's got a decent get up and go right from the mid-range, which I really like. This is going to sound weird, but it sounds like the engine could sound amazing if that makes sense. It's quite muted, it's quite muffled as standard with the standard silencer and airbox on, but I don't know, just underneath there it does sound, go on son, flying along on his bicycle. Just underneath it's like there's a hidden good sound waiting to come out. It's a really nice noise, but it's really quiet. Could do with being another 5 to... I'm not a huge loud bike person, but I'd like to hear a little bit more. Cheeky pipe, that would make it better. I quite like to watch some of the Irish road racing, like Tandragee or somewhere like that, and then come out for a ride along here. Pretend I'm Davey Todd sending it between the hedges. It's days like this that remind you, when you tuck your bike away for winter hibernation, don't tuck it away too tight. Because when you get one of those random mild winter days, sun's shining, hedges are low so you can see through all your favourite roads properly. Oh, just brilliant to be out. I think if I had to describe the GSX-8S, it'd be as dependable. That's a bit of an insult. I didn't mean that. I think what I'm struggling with is it's difficult to find any one thing to get excited about on this bike. I mean, it looks pretty cool, I'll give it that, but there's nothing about it like that leaps out at me and goes, flipping hell, that's amazing, I love it. Because it's not that sort of bike, and it's not built like that. It's built to just get on and ride, not to talk about. Does that make sense? Let's compare it to my favourite bike in this category, KTM Duke 890R. Phenomenal bit of kit, significantly more expensive than this, I might add, but that is like a punchy, slightly vibey, slightly rough around the edges, crazy road bike, and it makes me smile a lot. It's an absolutely fantastic motorcycle, and there's lots you can talk about on it. It's got loads of power from that engine. It's got really good quick shifter. It's got fantastic suspension. It's really light. It's twitchy. It's got insanely sharp steering. It's, you know, it's everything about it is kind of pushing the limit and kind of edgy. And the Suzuki is absolutely not that. Despite its super sharp, you know, you could argue KTM-esque styling, it's a Suzuki middleweight road bike, and they've always built bikes that are great fun, easy to ride, easy to get on with, and they just do the job. They don't make a fuss about it, and they never have the highest headline figures for best power, best weight. They're just decent bikes to get on with and ride, and I think that's the problem. So I don't want anyone to mistake my lack of screaming and swearing and waving my arms in the air that I don't like the GSX-8S. I love it. I think it's a fantastic bike, but it's not a bike for talking about. It's a bike for riding. And the thing you have to kind of remember, I have to remember quite a lot, is not everyone wants fast, shouty and angry. It's like me after I've had a couple of beers and got all excited about bike racing. I'm really annoying. And I think it's the same situation with a motorcycle. You can have something that's super fun and wild, but there'll be days when it's annoying. And actually the Suzuki is understated. It just gets on with its job and is in some ways all the better for it. It's a cliche, but I'm going to call it Dave. No fuss, reliable, always there when you need it. Good job, GSX-8S.